if you are using your instrument for income, that straw needs to be in your day every day. I would say at the very least morning and evening. And then throughout the day, you're going to go with the trills and the humming and the blowfish and whatever else you can do during the day to kind of keep a good balance here.
Welcome to the Vocal Lab. I'm Sarah Ramsey, and this show aims to pull back the curtain on the entertainment industry, where veterans give up-and-coming artists some of the information they wish they'd had when they were just starting out. Sort of a music industry primer, if you will. So, talking about that vocal fold coordination and the regularity of movement, do we want to talk about some things that can help re-regulate that or improve that sort of regulation?
Yep.
And we have visuals for this one.
I know where we're going here.
I think we do. So talking about tools for voice care as a broader subject, but let's start with the ones that. So I'm talking about the SOVT tools, semi-occluded vocal tract stuff, which just you can describe what it does better than.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, the semi-occluded vocal tract exercises are the best exercises that we have for voice. You know, it's what we get everybody doing. It's what everybody should be doing. And there's various, a hierarchy of semi-occluded vocal tract exercises that can be done. Of course, we all like to start with the straw. And there's an excellent, the voice straw kit. We can plug that.
Yeah,
I think, can't we? The voice straw kit is excellent.
So that's this one. I have the voice straw and cup kit.
Yeah. And I do think the cups are super important.
Yeah. So it comes with 2 different diameter straws, but also 2 different length straws. Although the short ones are only the little guys.
Yeah, only the smaller diameter.
So
Mindy Pack, whose kit this is, put this together with a lot of research with Ingo Tietze, who is kind of the
godfather of SOVT
the godfather of SOVT. And so Mindy worked with Ingo, and this is the kit they came up with. It's excellent. We love the cups. And the straws. Yeah. So the semi-occluded vocal tract exercise is all about the back pressure. So when you produce your voice through the straw with an ooh, you create some pressure behind your lips. Some air is coming out, but that back pressure is going back. And when that back pressure gets down to the vocal folds, it unloads muscle tension. It coordinates the airflow and the acoustic energy from your voice. It decreases the collision force. So if somebody has some swelling or a lesion, or one other thing that we look at functionally is the open-closed phase. People are staying closed too long during a vibratory cycle, and you'll hear that as a strained, pressed voice. Then the straw just kind of fixes it. It's awesome. The straw does the work. That's the beauty of this exercise. So all you have to do is produce your voice through it, and the straw will do the work. Yeah. It's a couple, you have to tweak some technique a little bit, but generally you're never going to hurt yourself with the straw. It's always going to tell you what your instrument is capable of. Yeah. So lots of times when singers come in and, I've lost my high range, as soon as we get them to the straw and they hear those high notes come back, we're on the road to recovery. Yeah. Because it's, depending on what the situation is, it's not that they're not there. Like we said, it's a symptom. Yeah. And the straw will always tell you what you're capable of. Yeah. And my experience, so these are just literally like off of Amazon or wherever, just drinking straws. Yep. But I brought them just to demonstrate that different, or to talk about the fact that different straw diameters produce a different amount of back pressure. Correct. Yeah. And those, I'm stealing your words here because it's something that you have told me in my own voice care. Different straws on different days
or different straws in different parts of your range.
Absolutely.
Totally good.
Yep. Fine.
The metric is that it should feel good.
Right.
Not bad.
Right. And that you shouldn't be fighting with the straw. So sometimes if we start with a small straw and people seem to be doing okay with that and they're not getting through the transition notes or they're not, then switch straws.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to get those vocal folds to work.
Yes.
And then you can go back down to the smaller diameter. So the smaller diameter is going to be the highest back pressure, and you're going to decrease the back pressure as you go into larger diameters, and it's fine. I usually tell people don't go any bigger than a bubble tea straw because then you'll
Which
lose.
is about what this is.
Bubble tea. That's bubble tea straws. You know that
are bigger than that. Yeah. Okay.
Up through them.
This is the biggest one I ever give my students.
Yeah, and that's fine. Sometimes if people are super swollen and we've got super stiff vocal folds, then I'll start with a larger diameter.
Yeah.
Just to get something moving and something going and then make it more challenging as we go.
Yeah. And so the nice thing about this particular kit is that you can use the straws on their own, or you can actually, because you can't, of course, say any words. When you have a straw in your mouth, you can only do an ooh vowel, really.
Right.
But that's the benefit of the cups, is that you can now.
Right. So now if you're talking through the cup with the straw's not in your mouth. The straw just hangs. You're going to be speaking with a semi-occluded vocal tract, which is great.
So still lots of back pressure, but I'm actually saying all the words.
Right. And so in a therapy situation, we might do with the straw, without the straw, with the cup, without the cup. And you're working to be able to feel the same way, how you're holding your instrument with the cup, without the cup, with the straw, without the straw, have everything be the same and kind of carry over the benefit of that back pressure. That's how we would work with a therapy situation.
So I have recently, and there are, we'll put a link for this in the show notes. There are other companies as well. There's also the Singing Straw. Their kits, they don't have the cups. They have the straws, and they have more. I think they've got 3 different diameters of straws in their kits, if I am recalling properly. I start my students off, if they just need the big one, that doesn't, like this size one, that doesn't come in any of the kits. So I just have some of those that I give students. But these are great. And then I've also, please go ahead.
I just remembered that I brought some others. So sometimes we'll use just a funnel.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of good success with a funnel. This
instead of a cup, it does the same kind of thing, right?
Right. You just have to be able to get a good seal over your mouth, and then you can play with, obstructing some of the. You can do that with the straw too. You can put your finger over it, take it out, put half of it. So I've certainly used a funnel with some people. I had somebody who I saw. She wasn't a singer. I'm not going to open this. She was in the North Country somewhere. She lost her voice. She needed help right away. Yeah. And she was in her kitchen. I was like, do you have a funnel? And she did, and she got her voice back.
Wow. It's very cool when you find those little magic moments that unlock things.
This is a air cushion face mask. So this is like a face mask that people use for oxygen. You can also use this. Okay. So it's got the whole, you can occlude part of it. You can just, so lots of people just take if they have access to the face mask, you can also use that.
So if you're someone who happens to sleep with a CPAP and you have a face mask, you could probably just use the face mask part of it too. I also recently got this, which I'm quite liking. This one is the vocal trainer. I can't remember the lady's name. I'll put it in the show notes. I can't remember it offhand. She's another singing teacher who has developed this tool, and it is another one. And it's part of what I like is that it's really easy to have with you anywhere. You can literally wear it underneath your shirt and pull it out when you're backstage waiting to go on and just want to warm up. But it's got these different notches, and you don't have to go by the notch. that just gives you a guideline, but you can dial in more pressure or less pressure. So this is, that's like the least amount of pressure to the most pressure, which I'm not very successful with the highest level of pressure, but it's also one that if you are someone who warms up in your car on the way to the gig, you can use this one hands-free, whereas a straw hanging out of your mouth is hard on your teeth.
There's also, there's the Uvo, OOVO. They have a small straw that comes on a necklace.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen that too. Yeah. So, and point being, there's lots of different versions of SOVT stuff. And at its most tool-free, that is a low key version of an SOVT exercise. That one or blowfish.
Humming. Yep.
Yeah. All of those things they just have less back pressure than any of the tools that we're talking about. Yeah. Yep. And I know in your office, I've also seen you use, instead of straws, the tubing for making beer, right?
I have used, I have used food grade tubing. Yes. And you can get it in different diameters. And that has also been, because straws were, hard, they're hard to clean and whatever. So I've also used I think I have I can't remember now the diameters of the tubing, but they come in different diameters and, same. Yeah. So I would get a big roll of it and just cut for people. And I've done that as well, for sure.
And some people, and I know that there's a difference between using it just for like normal working out your voice, coordinating, getting things coordinated, and using it as a more therapeutic healing piece.
Right.
But sometimes straws do get put into water as well. And you're basically oohing, which creates bubbles into the water, which increases the amount of back pressure. Correct. And that, if one of us didn't explain it already, the larger diameter straws, less back pressure. Right. The smaller it gets, the smaller the opening of whatever gets, the more back pressure.
Right. And the deeper in the water, the more back pressure. Right. So oftentimes we'll start people at the, I like to use the water because I like people to see their airflow.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at how many people can't, they got the straw in the water, they can blow bubbles, then they start their voice and there's no air
coming out their nose.
Well, either coming out or restriction.
Yeah.
That's a good point. When you're doing the straw exercises, you pinch your nose, make sure that you still make sound and that you're not humming.
Right.
If you hum through the straw, it'll come out your nose and you won't get back pressure. It has to be an ooh.
Yeah.
But people, if they're restricting, if they're pulling that muscle tension in when they produce their voice, then they produce voice and there's no bubbles. It's a really nice visual for people to understand what muscle tension is. Yeah. And then as soon as we get things coordinated where you've got bubbles and voice and people are super happy, but sometimes we have to adjust where the straw is in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk for a minute about some of the other tools that are available for voice care. So one of the things we hear a lot about these days, or maybe just I do because of being a voice teacher, but the nebulizing or steaming. And there's a big difference between them.
That's right. So steam is good for your mouth and nose.
Yeah.
But you're not going to inhale steam droplets because they're too big. And if you do inhale steam, it's likely that you'll find yourself coughing or clearing because the steam droplets are too big. So we talk about surface hydration of the airway. Sorry to burst any bubbles, but nothing that you are drinking, tea with honey, hot water, cold water, lemon water, nothing you are drinking is helping your vocal folds. If it feels good going down, that's awesome, but you are not drinking those things to hydrate your vocal folds. It takes
because it never touches your vocal folds.
Because they're in your airway, which we talked about.
Yes.
Exactly.
Not your trachea.
Yeah.
I mean, not your esophagus.
Right. Generally, we're both drinking water.
Yeah.
We are doing that because we want some relaxation here.
Mm-hmm.
Swallowing is a laryngeal relaxer. So it's fine. It's good. It takes about 45 minutes. I think I looked it up once to, how long does it take if you drink a glass of water? How long does that take to get to your organs? And I think for the larynx, it said something like 45 minutes. So
that's like systemic hydration
that
we're talking about.
Systemic hydration. It's important.
Yes.
You need to stay well hydrated. I know one of the things on your sheet here says day of voice care routine.
Yeah.
You can't hydrate the day of your performance. That has to be an ongoing hydration. You can't say, oh, I'm performing on Saturday, I'm going to make sure I drink enough water on Friday. It's not the way it works. So kind of everyday hydration systemic hydration is super important. But to get moisture hydration to your airway, you have to activate your own internal hydrating system. We have a hydrating system in here to keep the tissue of the vocal fold and the airway well hydrated. When you feel dry, so you feel like people come in, I've got too many secretions, I've got things to clear, I've always got this too many secretions in my throat, but actually it's that you don't have enough because they're too thick.
Right.
So when something is wet and if something is dry and sticky, we get it wet to move it, which means you need more of your own secretions. Your mouth waters, your throat waters. So if your throat feels dry, if you get your mouth to water by sucking on a hard candy, having a piece of fruit, something to get your system going, you will get a much more immediate sense of relief here than drinking water will ever give you. The nebulizer will break up the particles small enough to inhale. So the nebulizer comes with clean isotonic saline.
Yeah, I've got all these.
The little pink tubes of 5 to 9 milliliters of saline. Yeah. If you're going to nebulize with the nebulizer, it must be clean saline because you're inhaling into your airway, not make it home saline.
Yeah.
And then you're going to nebulize through the mouthpiece. Just, breathe in, exhale.
And no, it doesn't come out like vaping smoke.
Yeah. And you're just going to nebulize until it's gone.
And it just tastes slightly salty. And there's 2 different mouthpieces. There's that for people who like it that way. Or there is this is not my jam, but a face mask.
Yeah,
type.
but you don't, if you want that in your airway, you want to use the mouthpiece.
Really?
Otherwise, you're going to lose benefit of the saline to your nose, and you can steam for your nose.
Right. Okay. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The saline is considered nutritional intake of salt.
Yeah. Okay.
So generally we say you can nebulize up to twice a day. I actually don't know anybody who nebulizes twice a day. But if you have any salt restrictions, high blood pressure, salt limitations, this is salt in your body.
Okay. So that's a consideration.
Yeah, for sure.
On the other hand, people who have POTS, it's probably a really lovely thing to add to your, because you're trying to get all the salt you possibly can. And there are, I know you talked about hard candies and fruit and whatever. There is a company called Fontis, and they make candies that are specifically formulated for that, right?
Yeah, they're super slippery. I mean, they're hard candies, but they are very...
They've got a lot of glycerin in them, so they're really...
and the Manuka honey, and they're super slippery. As soon as you get it, your whole system will go. You'll feel a very quick sense of relief in your airway. Yeah. Yeah, and we do, for people who are here or for anybody in Canada, we have a Canadian distributor.
Yeah.
for the Fontus candies and the voice straw kit.
Okay.
Because sometimes Fontus you can only get from the company in the States. You can't get them anywhere else. It's a little bit of a hassle for both of these things to get them over the border.
Yes.
In terms of shipping time and extra cost. So Randy at Vocal Importers, he is a distributor for both Fontus and the voice straw, which is great for all of Canada.
Yeah. And for our American friends, then there's...
Just get them from the company.
And the American company, I know, has more flavors of the candies than the Canadian distributor. But
we wish they would give the other flavors to Randy. Yeah. The lemon and blood orange. They have. In Canada,
we just have the green apple ones. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about vocal rest, because I know from being in your office with my daughter when she had vocal damage that vocal rest is not always the answer, friends. And I think that is our instinct as singers. Something isn't right. I need to stop making sound.
Right.
And sometimes, but sometimes not.
Right.
Want to talk to that a little bit?
So, yeah, can I tell a story about it?
Please.
I was doing a presentation once for music teachers.
Yeah.
Huge group of music teachers. And we weren't ready yet, and they were talking amongst themselves, and one gentleman got up and said to his colleagues, oh, by the way, this year I'll be fixing, I'm available to fix your instruments. Just bring them to me and, I'll fix it for you. So great. That was good. And so then I was giving my talk and we got to voice rest, and somebody said, I've been diagnosed with vocal fold nodules. Should I rest my voice? And so I turned to the gentleman who was saying he'll fix the instrument. So I said, if somebody brings you an instrument, do you put it on the shelf for 2 weeks and then give it back to them and say, here you go? Yeah. And of course not. He fixes it. So the instrument needs to be used to be fixed, right? It's not going to fix by not doing anything.
Right.
I think, people get concerned. Maybe something hurts. Let's get things checked out. There's only, if you are performing 8 shows a week, do you want some vocal rest in your day? Probably. If, you have to balance voice use and rest, again,
whole body
is the instrument.
It's kind of like you wouldn't work out in the gym for 8 hours and then expect your body to be happy about it.
Right. So yeah, different, there's different kinds of voice rest. There's different reasons for voice rest. But voice rest to fix an injury is not generally how we go about it.
Right.
There's only 2 times when we do recommend voice rest, and one is when somebody's had a hemorrhage. So like a bruised vocal fold, we generally want the impact off that so it will heal. It's rare to have a hemorrhage. And the other time we recommend voice rest is after surgery. And even then, there's still a lot of discussion in the voice world about voice rest after surgery. But in the practice where I work with Dr. Mazzaria, 3 days of complete voice rest after a surgery. The wound healing research, wounds in other places, lots of the voice. There's a lot of research with voice and vocal folds and wounds, but in wound healing in general, it takes those 3 days of not moving for the cells that need to get there to help with the healing. But just like a hip or a knee, if you don't start moving, there's going to be stiffness. So we do like to start moving the vocal folds again on day 4 after surgery. Not fully. I mean, it's a whole plan of how you get your vocal folds moving. But hemorrhage and surgery are generally the only 2 times we recommend voice rest. I understand, like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with my voice. I need to find out what it is, so I'm not going to use it. You know, it, it it may or may not make anything better or worse.
And is there a place for voice rest in the face of something that is like not a longer term? I can feel that there's something ongoing wrong with my voice, but I'm sick. So is there a place for voice rest in a more acute kind of immediate setting for a short time?
What I'll usually say is the only time you need to not talk if you're sick is if you have pain.
Okay.
If you have a really, really bad sore throat, you probably shouldn't be talking or doing your voice exercises. But if you feel something coming on, increase your voice exercises.
Interesting.
Those straw exercises keep the layer structure moving and will help discourage swelling. And generally nobody believes me the first time. So I'll say to teachers, I see a lot of teachers, public school teachers, as soon as you feel like you're getting sick, increase your straw. Yeah. And then they come back for an appointment. I got sick. I lost my voice. You did? Oh my gosh. Did you do your straw exercises? No, I stopped because I was sick. Okay. Next time, increase your straw exercises if you feel like you're getting sick, and then just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back and say, I got, because teachers get sick a lot. Unfortunately, I got sick. I kept up with my exercises. I didn't lose my voice.
And now there is a differentiation, or let me rephrase that. I'm asking it as a question, not a statement. Is there a differentiation between keep up with your exercises, increase your straw exercises, versus, yes, you should still go and sing that 4-hour gig when you are on the cusp of losing your voice?
See, again, this is where we need the support from directors, and
yes,
you should not be singing if you're sick.
Right.
Because then the risk is going to increase with fragile vessels and more things that may make it more difficult down the road. Teachers should not work through laryngitis, and singers should not sing through laryngitis.
Yeah.
Don't. You end up with muscle tension patterns compensating for things, and then we have to work to undo that stuff. And it, like I said, that's really where we need the support of directors to say, okay, yeah, take a break. We'll put somebody else in, but you'll be back as soon as you're healthy, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's take care of people.
That's
right?
why shows have understudies.
Right. And let's take care of our people.
Yeah.
So that we're not pushing them into a situation where it's going to influence them down the road. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you talk about voice care routines? So we've got lots of different scenarios, everything from just a day-to-day voice care routine. So specifically talking to people who are like professional voice users, a day-to-day voice care routine. We talked a little bit there about a sick day voice care routine, or prepping for a studio or a single big gig versus prepping to go on the road or be in a 10-month run of a show.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to promote just good vocal health every day, right? I think the straw should be in people's day every day. And that is something that's lacking in a lot of singers that come in with problems is, I'll say, are you using the straw? Oh yeah, I use the straw, but they're only using it for technique training and they're not using it for vocal health. So I do think the straw needs to be in your day every day. If you are using your instrument for income, that straw needs to be in your day every day. I would say at the very least morning and evening. And then throughout the day, you're going to go with the trills and the humming and the blowfish and whatever else you can do during the day to kind of keep a good balance here. Hydration.
Yes.
reflux, again, another very controversial subject. Sleep
Yes.
is super important. People need to get a good night's sleep.
I think that's really underrated how big an impact that has on voice
Health.
health.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
voice. Allergies, allergy management. Use the nasal spray. We have other strategies for hydration. We know that allergy medication, nasal sprays, maybe they make you feel a little bit more dry. We have strategies for that. But if you have allergies, if you have nasal congestion, use things that are recommended, because we need the instrument open and clear. We have other strategies to deal with the effects of allergy medication and stuff like that. But those things need to be in place. Yeah, and again, sometimes I'll say, you don't want to drag your instrument around behind you and then expect it to work well for your Saturday gig or this one, your recording time. That instrument needs to be taken care of every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the difference that it makes, is getting good vocal hygiene in every day and thinking about the rest of the instrument and what's bothering you, and how's your medication for whatever else, and does something else need to be identified here or diagnosed. So yeah, just good taking care of everything and having that straw in your day every day.
Yeah. Reflux. So we've edged into it a couple of times today, but do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the voice world talks about reflux because the opening to the esophagus is so close to the airway.
Yeah.
We cannot diagnose reflux by looking at your vocal folds. It's pretty common practice. GPs walk in, I have the utmost respect for everybody.
Yeah.
But when people come in with hoarseness, voice problems, very often the first step is reflux medication without any visualization or anything. And it's not always the problem. It's not always the solution. We all reflux. We don't all have reflux disease.
Right.
If you know you reflux, heartburn, indigestion, acid, tasting acid, there's different degrees. I will say to performers, if you know in 2 weeks you have a show, like, manage reflux.
Yeah.
Let's get this cleaned up. If you're not on a kind of a regular, low acid, and that's only if you know you have problems.
Right.
If you know that nuts give you indigestion, or if you know that tomatoes give you indigestion, or if you know you burp more after ice cream, I mean, then behavioral management is going to go much further than relying on the medication. The medication does not stop reflux, the proton pump inhibitors. It makes it less acidic.
Okay.
So proton pumps are cells in our stomach that produce acid.
Yeah.
Proton pumps inhibitors inhibit acid production.
Yeah.
Things can still come out of your stomach, but it'll be less acidic. And sometimes the PPIs do the coughing, throat clearing. They take PPI and they're better. Awesome.
Yeah.
But many people are put on PPIs and nothing gets better, but you're still on the PPI.
I was, story time again. I was put on, this was many years ago by a completely different practitioner, but I was put on one of them, rabaprazole or one of those, because that person looking in my throat was sure that was what the issue was. And I was on it for like an extended period of time. I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And I said, I really don't think this is the problem. I don't ever get indigestion. I don't ever get heartburn. I don't think this is the problem. And I was told the only way that we'll know is for you to go and have a sensor,
probe,
whatever.
yeah.
Put down up your nose and down your throat and sit at the entrance to your stomach for 24 hours.
That's correct.
And so I said, let's do it.
Yeah. Good for
and
you.
I did. And it showed that
no reflux.
It was not the issue. I mean,
Yeah.
just a normal amount, like immediately after you eat a little bit, yes, but not a problematic piece.
Right. And even if you do have reflux and the PPIs are helping, they don't always fix the voice problem.
Yeah.
We still need to address voice and structure and function of voice.
And on the flip side, I've also had students come in where I don't diagnose reflux. I don't diagnose anything, but I have said there's something more than functional going on here. So you need to go and see an SLP or a laryngologist or get scoped, figure that out. And then, and they have ended up on a medication like that because that did, and it was like night and day for them.
For sure.
So when it's the right fix, it's the right fix. And when it's not, it's not.
Right.
But it's a piece for consideration.
Right. It's just not always reflux.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else you think is really important for up and coming artists to know about voice and voice care that maybe they just, or you see people walk into your office and not know that's important?
Well, yeah. People don't know what their instrument looks like.
Yes.
People don't know how to take care of it. And it's often taken for granted.
Yeah.
And the other things that you do matter. So in the voice world, there's several people who will use this analogy of a bank account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what's in your bank account and what do you need from your bank account? Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen if you overdraw? So how is your voice and what are your voice requirements? Are you a server? In addition to, are you a server in a loud restaurant in addition to a performer? Do you have a big run of a show coming up? Do you have enough in the account to go out after the performance? Or are you going to be overdrawn if you go out after the performance?
And especially if you have that 1 or 2 or 3 glasses of wine.
Right.
That impacts as well. For
sure. So if you think about, there needs to be education about, like we started today, right? This is not an instrument that you put away when you don't need it for income. You're still using it all day long.
Yeah.
And so many other things affect it. So what do I need to withdraw from this account today? And what do I need to be sure is there for next week when I have a performance or I'm in the recording studio? And think about it.
Yeah.
Think about what's important to you. Are you using this instrument for income? And is that crucial? Like you have to have the income from your voice? Then maybe you're not going to go out every night. Or, I hate to say it, but serving is tough on the voice.
Really hard on the voice.
It is.
And the rest of your body, but really hard on your voice.
And I know that it's difficult to find that extra income, but serving is really tough on the voice. Yeah. It's late hours. It's lifting, pushing, pulling.
Yep.
You lift, push, and pull with function from your larynx. So, if you have another job that requires a lot of lifting, pushing, and pulling, that's playing a role here. When people have surgery, we tell them not to lift, push, and pull for a couple of weeks so that you don't get that. I mean, we can both do it. You can push down on your chair and you're going to feel like, as soon as you do it,
Yeah.
You can't talk because this is involved in getting the lung pressure that you need to be able to lift, push, and pull. So you're carrying a tray, you're carrying lots of things, you're talking, there's background noise. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal on the larynx.
Yeah.
So basically, I think, you want people to have the right education about the instrument, how to take care of it, how do you know when it's broken?
Yeah.
And what should you do about it? What's good vocal health every day, and what's in my account and what do I need it for?
Yeah. I talk to my students about that concept in terms of, I use like spoon theory from mental health care. And yeah, I have a sheet that I've written out. I should send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You might, but it's, how many spoons do you have? How many spoons is this activity going to cost? And yeah, you can borrow from tomorrow's spoons, but it's going to leave you with fewer spoons tomorrow.
Right, right.
So,
yep.
Yeah. It's
I think if people want income from this instrument, you got to take care of it.
I don't know if this was his original idea, but my brother said this to me at one point in time, and I thought it is actually such a great analogy. He said, if you are a professional singer, you need to treat your voice the way an Olympic athlete treats their body.
Exactly. Yep.
All the care and maintenance.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's true. And I think because it is a thing that some people can do with zero training and no knowledge, and they just are born and they sing well.
Yep.
We don't think about it the same way. We don't put the same consideration into how I need to care for it as you would if you came up through amateur sports and went on to professional sports, and that was a thing that was developed that way. Yeah. Anyway, I really appreciate your time today. This has been
great.
A great discussion, and a really great sort of primer for people who don't have a base knowledge of the voice and what that anatomy and function really is. So I appreciate you coming and joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great.
Do you want to let us know where people can find you, web, social media, any upcoming things that you...
the surreyvoiceclinic.com is my website.
Yeah.
At Surrey Voice, I think, is my Instagram, something like that.
We'll link it all in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I'm in the clinic 3 days a week. I work out of the Fraser ENT clinic with Dr. Mazzaria. And then I do telepractice on other days.
Yeah.
The only thing, in the other aspects of what I do, I am doing a communication and swallow workshop for the Parkinson's community in Abbotsford coming up on February 10th.
Yeah.
That's an area that's near and dear to my heart. So I work with Parkinson's. I've had family with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
I was on the board of the Parkinson's Society for many years, but I still do. I still offer out this communication and swallowing education program for people with Parkinson's and their care partners. So I got that February 10th, I think, if that's a Saturday, and then April in Kamloops. Same thing. I will be speaking to the Surrey Teachers Association in May.
Yeah.
To help all those teachers with their vocal health.
Yes.
They can't work without their voice either.
Absolutely.
And that's they've got quite a burden. So we'll be providing some vocal health care for the Surrey teachers in May.
That's great.
Yep.
Excellent.
And I'm always happy to be a resource for people. If people want to email me, Sherri, Sherri, at surreyvoiceclinic.com. I'm always happy to answer questions for people. You're not bound to come see me. I'm always happy to be a resource.
That's great.
Yep.
Well, thank you again for all your time and expertise today. This has been a really, really enjoyable
chat.
Yeah.